Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players. Here on this show, we take a look at up-and-coming North American talent. Each week, we check out a new player to get a feel for their personality and their playstyle. On Thursday, we interview the player to try and find out more about who they are and why you should care about them. On Friday, we watch 3 of their games as we cover their playstyle in each of the 3 matchups. Saturday, we take a look at an awesome game that they've played and relax with a little bit of fun as we recap the week and get an analysis of the games. Breaking Out will cover 8 players before it culminates into the Breakout Invitational. With a minimum prize pool of $1,000, we find out who is the most likely player to break out of the North American scene. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players that you need to know about. Today on the show, we have already seen a Protoss versus Zerg and a Protoss versus Terran if you're watching this live. And we're going to be jumping into a Protoss versus Protoss, and I'm joined here once again with Boisterous SC2. How are you doing today?
Is it over? Am I almost done, Fear Dragon?
I'll let you out of the dungeon in a couple hours. Anyways, as we jump into this Protoss versus Protoss on the map Yonsu, we spawn down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, Yonsu, as I already said. On top of the red Protoss player representing Team Root, it is going to be Chad Mother Effin' Minigun Jones.
And up here in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent, currently the featured player this week. I forgot what word you would want me to use. It is Dust's sWs as the blue Protoss.
And this is a ladder game. I want to come back to this pylon in a little bit, Boister, so remind me if I totally forget. But this is a ladder game, and that's actually why sWs has been in our barcode for his Protoss versus Zerg and his Protoss versus Protoss. Because, if you actually watch his interview, he does mention how he believes when you stream your games or kind of show play on like a non-barcode account, you really give away a lot about your playstyle when it comes down to those really big important tournament matches. So I'm actually, it's really interesting to hear a player who is so completely against showing off his playstyle, especially when he does a very varied up type of play where he likes to play greedy one game and play really aggressive the next.
I mean, like, you would feel that it would be stronger for him to stream his games then, because, like, people will know that they can't expect anything from him, but, I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter either way. I actually kind of find it interesting, people that are against streaming, because you think about streaming, and, like, when people know what you're going to do is when you get better at doing it. Like, if you catch someone off guard, you're not going to have to do it to the absolute best of your abilities to win the game. But when somebody knows what you're doing and they're like, well, you're going to go for Charge Lot Archon because that's what you do, then you're going to have to play really, really, really well to beat them.
That's so interesting. That does remind me of actually an old story that Day9 used to say where he used to practice in Brood War against a map hacker who would have infinite map vision, and he just got a lot better through it. And, I guess both sides sort of have their merits. And you think about a lot of the players that sWs actually mentioned in the interview. There's players like Scarlet and Naniwa. I mean, they barely ever stream, and it does kind of go to show that it has some sort of advantage when they actually play.
I think as long as you're practicing against someone that's going to know your styles and is going to actually challenge them well, then I think you're going to be in a good spot. And then you kind of just need to hope not to reach them in the finals. Because then it's kind of awkward because you both know what the other one's gonna do, and it becomes kind of a fist fight. Wow.
Yeah, that always can be a little bit awkward. It's always sometimes funny to see those teammate versus teammate matches where things just kind of go crazy. But hold on thought, we do have Twilight Councils coming out from both of these players, and I have to say, sWs grabbed a pretty early second Gas Geyser and put 3 guys on it very early also. And he has a hidden probe in this little corner of the map that's going to go completely unscouted. Could we see a Dark Shrine?
It is absolutely going to be a Dark Shrine.
Not where I thought it was.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of expecting it to be down here too, but that's not a terrible spot for a Dark Shrine. The issue is that he has nothing to stop scouting yet. I mean, he's getting a Robo too. This is really, really interesting play.
He has a Stalker, and he's going to be able to wail away at this Mothership Core. But the Mothership Core, honestly, it has enough energy for a recall, and it's going to come in all the way to the front. Did it? Did he actually click on that Dark Shrine? He may have thought that was a pylon.
Oh, that would be bad. It's really going to come into his reaction. I mean, he already has a robo.
Oh, he actually threw down the robo as soon as...
so he probably saw it from going blink.
All right. Well, it's a really weird situation now, Boisters, because now we have sWs who's going for Dark Templars, and it's not necessarily just like game over, your opponent knows you're going for Dark Templars and is getting a robo. I mean, you can still do some pretty effective stuff with them, but he's also up against an opponent who's gonna get Blink. So how does he defend against a Blink Soccer play after the Dark Templar play gets shut down?
I mean, he's gonna need to use his own Observer to snipe Minigun's Observer. That's gonna be the big play here, because he did get the robotics facility, he is getting Observers, he is getting Warp Prisms, so his big shot here, and his big like 100% win scenario, is if he manages to snipe the Observers from Minigun, and then just wipe the rest of the army with Dark Templars.
Yeah, I completely agree. That would actually be a really, really strong play. I mean, Dark Templars do absurd amounts of damage in a very small time span, but you know, I actually also like what sWs is doing right now. He's actually getting a Warp Prism, or already has it, and is going to be able to do a little bit of harassment. If Minigun actually moves out before getting a second Observer, he could actually put himself in a very, very awkward situation.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely could, but it looks like he's not really gonna do that. I mean, his Observer is a little bit far out, and I don't think he has one at home. No, and he actually isn't even making one at home. He's making an Immortal, so we could see a little bit of damage from this Warp Prism, but I don't think so. That one Dark Templar is going to drop down. It's going to be going right for the mineral line, but those probes are going to be pulled off right away. Again, there is no Observer here. Where is the Observer currently? It is all the way across the map. That is terrible.
Oh, no. Well, second Observer is going to pop out, and honestly, Minigun lost one probo there, so it's really not the biggest loss besides the mining time. But I do have to say that I still like this move by sWs, because you think about it, either Minigun was moving out for a big attack, in which case the Dark Templar does absurd amounts of damage, or Minigun isn't moving out as he is right now. He's kind of staying at home, getting his expansion up, and sWs is free to kind of tech up. I mean, it was just one Dark Templar. He did morph in another Dark Templar, and has actually managed to get 2 kills on it, but he's also delaying a bit of mining, so I'm not too opposed to this.
Yeah, I mean, he also got one down in the natural that managed to get 2 kills. That managed to get 1 kill. It looks like it's going to be going for 2 and 3 here. No, not quite 3. It's going to have to back out here. But it will be able to retreat with its life. And oh, the Warp Prism getting a little bit caught off guard here, but it gets away safe. And that's
shields, man.
Yeah.
Warp Prisms, when are they going to go back to 40 shields? Dude, do you remember that?
That was crazy. Warp Prisms used to be useless.
Yeah, you know what? I actually think that if Warp Prisms suddenly got reduced down to 40 shields, and players didn't have this like angst against the fact that it happened, I think they would still be actually pretty useful. I think that people would still be using them.
I think that when they're like that, they're more useful as support units rather than harassment units, because they're really nice as moving pylons. And I'm still amazed that I don't see that more in high-level play. Because like you don't need a probe to follow your army. You can just make a Warp Prism for 2 unit supply. And then you have a pylon wherever the battle is, which is huge. But anyway, we are going to have a little bit of harassment coming through here with some Zealots. They are going to get taken out by these 6 Stalkers. The Warp Prism also getting sniped. But, you know, sWs isn't that worried about that right now. I think he has the worker lead by 6 workers right now, so he's in a pretty solid position right now.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was saying. I mean, he knew that he was going to keep his opponent at home with those Dark Templars and the Warp Prism, so he kind of had an opportunity to play a little bit greedy. And I mean, you look at his unit composition, it's very, very small number of units, but he has 3 Immortals, 4th Immortal coming out. He has a handful of Sentries as well, and even though the Robotics Bay is coming up, so those Sentries are going to be much less useful in the near future, right now, they're actually a very, very scary proposition.
Yeah, this is an Immortal Sentry all-in versus another Protoss player, which, I mean, you know, it's frightening against Zerg, but when you're going Blink Stalker, it's like, oh, I don't want that. Nobody wants that. It looks like you are going to have these Stalkers coming up here and getting massacred. Oh my god, that was terrible.
Well, Boisters, I think that we learned a valuable lesson here. It's that Immortals hurt when you're a Stalker.
Yeah, dude, Immortals are not nice things. Just walking around, they're the zombies. They're zombies. They're actually zombies. I mean, look at them. They're dead.
No.
Look at their arms. They're like,
No, Dragoons are zombies. Dragoons are the fallen Zealot units. Or fallen
Yeah, so are
Protoss
Immortals.
units. Oh, Immortals are. Yeah. I thought you were saying Stalkers. I was like, dude, have you looked at the portrait for a Stalker? Well, wow. I really have to hand it to Minigun.
Stalkers are also dead Dark Templar.
Dude, Minigun is juking really, really well over here. And he actually might get out of here. Oh, wow. He has the high ground vision. He gets up over here into the natural.
Where did he get that high ground vision?
I have no idea.
How?
Yeah, oh, he has the observer. It's right above the
okay.
gateway.
And that observer is sneaky.
That observer is so sneaky that even when we can see everything, we can't actually see it. Alright. Okay, but here we end up seeing sWs moving across the map. He is finally taking care of all those Blink Stalkers. He has Charge finished up. He has Archons morphing in. He has a lot of Immortals. And he's going to go for it. But Minigun is already doing a nice little wall off. He has his first Colossus out. He's getting up 2 Colossus at a time. I'm not sure if sWs is actually going to be able to make this work.
The big thing with this engagement is going to be that extended thermal lance. Will it finish before sWs decides to move in? Because if sWs decides to move in before it happens, these Colossi are going to be in a very precarious position against the Immortals. But it looks like it won't. It has 5 seconds left, so it looks like...
Archon dropping the main base?
What?
Boisterous, this is awesome. This is something that I actually have seen Sarah Body from Clarity Gaming do, and it is so awesome. You think about it. What do you use to defend against Archon? You have to pull back a bunch of units because they're just so tanky. They do a bunch of damage. You have to micro and focus. Unfortunately, sWs did not take the opportunity to actually move in at the front. I guess it was still a little bit of a precarious and dangerous situation to move up, since he has to be wary of things like sentries just kind of force fielding his army in half. Since I mean, he has an Archon, but it's not exactly going to be able to easily deal with a set of force fields if the Archon's in the back or the front. He has to navigate through the rest of his units as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, as long as he manages to frontline with the Archon, he's actually going to be in a pretty good situation. Because as long as he can stomp force fields, he's going to be fine against this army. The issue is that it's going to be really hard to actually get a good engagement into the natural of Minigun. But Minigun has a very weak army as far as push potential. I'm pretty sure that if he manages to push out, I mean, sWs is just going to crush him.
sWs does have vision of this army kind of pushing out a little bit. Whether the Xel'Naga Watchtower, does he actually try and find some sort of flanking position? No, it looks like he's just going to go ahead and back up 5 Colossus. A pretty scary prospect when a majority of your army is Zealots.
Yeah, I mean, those Colossus are going to do a whole ton of damage, but the thing is that if the majority of your army is Zealots and they manage to overrun the army of your opponent, then you have unsupported Colossi, and the Colossi can't really do damage to the Immortals, and the Immortals will just destroy them, because that's what Immortals do.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Now, we do finally have sWs getting up his own robotics bay, as it has finished up. He's getting Thermal Lance. He has the potential to produce his own Colossus now and transition out, but, I mean, there's no way that he actually does end up catching up in that Colossus count anytime soon. I almost feel like he'd be better off going for Stargate units and going for Tempests.
I'm pretty sure that if he went pure Colossus for the rest of the game, he couldn't catch up with this Colossus count. I mean, this is just absurd. Because Minigun isn't going to stop Colossus production, I don't think. Actually, he might stop at like 8, but at 8 Colossus, he can kind of just take an engagement. And as long as it's an okay engagement, he's going to do fine.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely going to be really, really important to see where the engagement actually occurs. Right now, sWs is perched up on that Xel'Naga Watchtower, and he's actually also perched up outside his natural. So he's expecting that Minigun will try and come through that big choke between the two, but it doesn't end up happening. Oh, actually, I just love this army movement from sWs. Look at how he's just constantly positioning for the big flank.
Yeah, and that's going to be a huge thing for him. These Zealots can be super useful if they actually manage to get under the Colossi. And it looks like that's what he's going to be doing here. He's probably going to swing up on the ridge with this second pack of units. While just trying to hold the low ground near the third base. But is he? He's not swinging those units around yet, but here they come. They're coming right up behind the Colossi. The Colossi is going to be forced back up the ramp, and those Zealots just get sandwiched. The recall is forced to happen. And Minigun losing a huge portion of his army and taking out basically nothing from sWs.
Well, he did take out the 3rd expansion, so yeah, he didn't take out a lot of army units. But honestly, I kind of like Minigun's position. Yeah, he lost a lot of Zealots and Stalkers and such, but he kept alive almost all of his Colossus. He got out of there and took out the 3rd expansion of sWs. sWs almost has to push now. And I would love to see Minigun just throw down a wall of gateways and buildings in front of his third expansion.
Yeah, just try to delay it for as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't be a terrible play, but the issue is that, you know how we said that sWs would never be able to catch up in Colossi count?
Oh my god.
He caught up. I mean, he has 5 right now versus the 6 of Minigun.
Wow. Actually, yeah, 5 Colossus now just popped out versus 6 of Minigun. Minigun's actually only producing 1 Colossus at a time now. I mean, there is, believe it or not, to all you Protoss players out there are diminishing returns on getting a certain number of Colossus at a certain point. And I found that generally players have said around 7 or 8, but hold that thought, we might see a big engagement over here. Zealot's actually being funneled up that ramp. Is this going to work out for sWs? The Time Warp's actually really doing a great job.
You know, I'm kind of sad that he didn't shoot down those rock towers, because did you know, and this is something that I've noticed, but rock towers actually kill stuff that they crush.
Oh, they do, man, and it doesn't look like it's going to come into play just yet. Hold that thought, though.
Someday.
Someday, man. God, these Immortals, though, they're going to be so cost-effective against the Colossus. Oh, actually, hold that thought. We actually had a Warp Prism drop over in the main base of sWs. Minigun trying to do a little bit of harassment. And it's going to continue to try to do so, but there is actually a Photon Cannon that is probably going to pick off that Warp Prism before the first Zealot gets warped in. Oh, Dark Templar gets warped in, actually, defensively. And, man, these two players just constantly teasing that engagement.
Yeah, and I mean, now we have the harassment Colossus on the left side, sniping away at that pylon. And here the engagement comes in. Those Immortals are going to be so cost-effective. They are not able to take a whole ton of damage from these Colossi. It looks like they will finally start getting cleaned up at this point, but the entire army from Minigun is starting to fall. And it looks like now that, you know, he's finally able to get direct contact on those Colossi, it just doesn't matter. The Zealot Warpins are too much, and Minigun is just absolutely going to get pushed back right now. It's 4 versus 4 Colossus. Now that's 3 versus 2. And this is just going to be scary. And there's the GG.
GG gets called, and I have to say, Boisterous, those Immortals played huge dividends for sWs in that final engagement. I mean, Minigun actually had a beautiful concave and everything, but he just couldn't handle the DPS output of those, I think it was like 6 Immortals with +3 weapons. I mean, that is absolutely insane. 65 damage per shot versus those Colossus.
Yeah.
And, you know, with that being said, that is going to put an end to our PvP and actually the rest of our games for today. So if you've been watching this live, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I did want to also give a huge shout out to Boisterous SC2 for joining me today. And Boisterous, I know that there were a couple things that, as I finally release you from your dungeon, there are a few things that you wanted to say before you left.
Anyway, if I can remember them after all the beatings. You can go check me out on Twitter at BoisterousSC2 or on YouTube at youtube.com/BoisterousSC2 or on Twitch at twitch.tv/BoisterousSC2. Also, follow my new team that acquired me in the last week in one of the most hilarious ways possible over at Core Pro Gaming.
Yes.
Yeah, I got
glad you remember that, man.
Woo! Dude, I'm getting my pugs down.
You're learning them pretty fast. But guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and be sure to check out more of the Dust sWs tomorrow as we cast one final game. It looks like it's going to probably be with Boisterous, as I am going to keep him here for just a little bit longer. He's going to be in his dungeon just a little bit. Actually, we're gonna move him out of the dungeon. We're going to get him ready to go, but we're going to cast one more game tomorrow, and we're also going to do a bit of a recap of the week and get Dust sWs's thoughts on these games. So be sure to tune in for that tomorrow. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can go ahead and follow the channel over on twitch.tv/FearDragon64 to find more of these live broadcasts. And, you know, if you want to catch the VODs because you missed a part of the broadcast, you can follow the YouTube channel over at youtube.com/FearDragon64. And that is pretty much going to be it. So thank you guys all so much for tuning in. It's been wonderful to have you all here. I want to give a huge shout out to all the people who make all this possible, such as the people who make the art assets, Minnie Mouse, GG, as well as Cybert, and of course Nubity, who has also done a bunch of the graphic art assets for Season 1. And yeah, have a wonderful day, guys, and enjoy your Friday. We'll see you tomorrow.